Your personal story with the orange shirt has resonated with so many and sparked the Orange Shirt Day movement. Can you briefly share with our listeners the significance of that orange shirt and how it led to this National Day of Remembrance?
hmm Very quickly, the first Orange Shirt Day was September of 2013 when I first told my story when the TRC came to Williams Lake, and it hit social media. From the very first year, it has gone viral, and so we're now in the 10th year, and this year is also the third National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. The story that I told was I lived with my grandmother on the Dog Creek Reserve. I'm third generation survivor. So my grandmother was the first generation, all of her 10 children, including my mother and then myself. So when I turned 6, Granny did as she had always done. She brought me to town and bought me something to go to school in, and I chose a bright orange shirt. It was the early 70s, that crazy psychedelic colors. It was like bright and exciting, just how I felt to be going to school for the first time. And so when I got there, my clothing, my shirt was taken. Everybody's clothing was taken. And I don't have a memory of ever wearing it again.
Your new children's book, Every Child Matters, is a testament to your commitment to educating the younger generation. What inspired you to write this book, and what message do you hope children take away from it?
hmm I didn't grow up knowing my history or really knowing much about who I was or where I came from. I was actually ashamed of that. And so when I started learning what happened and that is reflected in this book. It starts out with how it was before everything was all messed up with colonialism and the coming of the settlers, how we had our dances, our languages, our families were intact. We had our songs and then with the it doesn't talk about the others, but residential school, how we were forbidden with government to sing our songs and dance our dances. And Granny wasn't allowed to speak her language at residential school. So as a result, I'm not a speaker. And the family was broken. And so I tell my own shirt story in this book as well. But then it ends with hope for the future, that we're learning, we're still here. They didn't succeed in getting rid of us, and our families are coming back together. My son and his wife are the first. My grandchildren are the first in 5 generations to be raised by their mother and their father. We're learning our songs. I got my grandchildren drums and they drummed while I sang once when I was babysitting them. And because I was teaching them the value of the drums, they just had them laying around on the floor. So when I got there, I got them to pick them up, and I taught them that those drums are sacred. You don't just leave them laying around. And so then they started drumming, and then they said, "Sing, Grandma." I started singing. So the book ends with hope for the future and the relearning of and being who we were meant to be with our songs, our dances, our language, our families.
The title "Every Child Matters" is powerful and resonates deeply. How do you believe this message can help in the healing and reconciliation process for Indigenous communities and the broader Canadian society?
Yeah, that's a packed question. So when we were creating Orange Shirt Day, we thought we needed a slogan, a saying to go with it, with the day. So Orange Shirt Day was created to honor survivors and their families and to remember those that never made it home. And when I told my story, I talked about how when I was there, I could be tired, sick, hungry, lonely, and there wasn't any adults to tend to us. 5 and 6 year olds should not be comforting each other, and that's what was happening. And so I felt like I did not matter when I was there. And so in the beginning, that's where that started. And survivors are adults and elders now, but they were children when they were there. And also the ones that didn't come home, they mattered. So the Orange Shirt Society is a society of reconciliation. And the more we talked about it, it fit as well. So in the book and when I present, I say, no matter what color of the medicine wheel you are, every child matters in the past, the present, and the future.
Orange Shirt Day, as you mentioned earlier, is now in its 10th year and has grown significantly over the years with schools, organizations, communities across the country participating. What are your hopes for the future of this movement, and how can individuals contribute to its growth?
Yeah, I didn't plan this. Even if I had a business plan and tried to execute the whole thing, it would never have been the way it is. And so I have no idea what the next 10 years bring, but I plan on being alive for the next 20 plus years, and I look forward to that. But I know I would like to maybe do a couple of international travels, perhaps. Maybe the U.S. They're starting to recognize the day as well, and to just keep suiting up and showing up and doing what's next and doing it with a good mind and a good heart, but at the same time taking care of myself. And I was telling my assistant today, I need some sunshine and I need some air. I need to go for a walk today. We have another event and events planned for the next few days. So, and a good meal, a good hot meal. So I haven't had those three things in a couple of days. So that's what I'm craving.
So for parents and educators who are looking to introduce the topic of residential schools and Indigenous history to children, aside from your book, what advice or resources would you recommend?
There's lots out there. There's so many great books by Indigenous authors for children on residential school, including my books, and there's no rules. You just start conversation, and children are really good at. I believe the children across this country are teaching the adults around the kitchen table about this, and then the adults can research it a bit further. I've been doing a lot of corporates lately, but in the beginning, it was elementary and high schools that were on board.
It's fitting for Every Child Matters that the children are the one leading the conversation. It's perfect.
Yes.
I can't thank you enough for joining me. It is such a pleasure to have you here. I want people to be able to keep up with all that you share, get your book, find out more about the Orange Shirt Society. So where are all the various places they can go to find out more?
You can go to any bookstore to get my books, wherever you would normally buy a book. Our website is orangeshirtday.org, O-R-G. And my publisher is Medicine Wheel Publishing. So if you Google, you'll find the link to go to their site.
All right. Incredible. Thank you so much for joining me today, Phyllis.
Yes. Thank you for having me, Gukshjam.